Hi there, good afternoon and welcome to today's Kingston Library Teen ebook review. I'm Fran and today the book I'm going to be talking about is The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. I did review The Scorpio Races by Maggie Stiefvater before, which is another book I obviously heartily recommend. However, The Raven Boys is a series I want to recommend because I feel like it's much more of a crowd-pleasing series, as in it has some romance but not too much, some sort of dark mystery but not too much. And it has both male and female main characters, and so I feel like it's a series that anyone could read and enjoy. I really think it's great, and sort of it's a kind of book where you can't put it down, and you have to get to the next book and the next chapter as quickly as you possibly can. It's really gripping and thrilling and enjoyable. It is available on Overdrive as an ebook. All 4 books in this series are available on Overdrive. And also, this book does apply to a few of our categories for the Teen Reading Challenge. So it follows number 6, which is a book being adapted to a TV series. The series yet doesn't exist, but it is being made, so it could apply to category 6. Category 7, which is the first book in a series. Category 10, which is a book based on myth legends. And number 11, which is a book with an animal on the cover. So, yes, so as with Scorpio Races, it does have myth and legends interwoven with the story. However, this is quite a lot different. It takes place in Virginia in America, which is where Maggie Stiefvater lives. And you can really feel the magic and the descriptive power of how she's writing it. You can tell she really loves that place, and so it really sort of hammers home how beautiful that place is. And so for the basic plot it's about these 4 boys who go to a posh private school in this small town in Virginia, and they all sort of follow one of them called Gansey, who is the leader of the group. And Gansey, prior to the beginning of the book, he was allergic to bee stings. He was deathly allergic, and he was attacked by bees, and so he should have died. However, as he was lying on the ground dying as a child, he had a vision of someone telling him, "Find Glendower." And so his life's work, his obsession, is finding Glendower. Now, Glendower is an ancient Welsh king who, and the legend says that if someone was to find where he was buried, they would get one wish granted. And so Gansey's just desperate to find Glendower, to find the answer as to why he has to find him and to have a wish granted. His 3 friends, Adam, Ronan and Noah, they don't particularly care that much about finding Glendower. They're just happy to go along with whatever Gansey wants, because he's a kind of very charming person who you can't help but like. And they each have their own individual motivations and feelings towards their quest. And one thing that Maggie Stiefvater does brilliantly in all of her books, all of the characters are so human. They're so distinct and individual and well developed. All 4 of these boys are just so different, and you grow to really care about them in different ways. They're flawed, but they're human, and they have their own feelings and motivations, and you get to know them just like you would know any other person that you know. And it's just really great. Another main character is a girl named Blue, who isn't friends with the boys at the beginning of the book, but is compelled to meet them because she's the daughter of a psychic. And while she doesn't herself have psychic powers, she is told that this is the year where she's going to meet her true love. And while she doesn't really care about that, she's always been told that actually her true love would die if she ever kissed him. And the only time Blue has ever had her own psychic experience is having a vision of Gansey. And so she knows that she's going to kiss her true love and he will die. She's going to meet her true love in the next year, and she knows that Gansey will die in the next year. So it's all really exciting. And while she doesn't care about Gansey, she doesn't particularly like Gansey, and she doesn't really care about finding her true love because she thinks he's gonna die, so what does it matter? She gets ensconced into their quest and to find Glendower as well, and she kind of joins their group. And because while they're all quite sort of posh boys go to rich boys' school. She's quite poor, comes from a poverty-stricken household and in a house full of women, and it's just great to see this combination of different dynamics. And so yes, I love that dynamic with her in the group. And it's just one of the things that Maggie Stiefvater does so brilliantly is all of her mythology and all of her different series are so unique. Sort of the Scorpio races she draws from ancient Celtic myths. Maggie Stiefvater, the Raven Boys, she draws from Glendower, the ancient Welsh king, and her other series she's written called Shiver, which I may review in the future, is about werewolves, and that particular mythology is really different and unique as well. So I just really like that her books are really different, but her prose is so lyrical, so poetic and beautiful, and like as I said before, it's so gripping you can hardly put the book down. I will read just a short part of the prologue about Blue, so here it is. All the women came to the same conclusion, blunt and inexplicably specific. What they all agreed on, in many different clairvoyant languages, was this: if Blue was to kiss her true love, he would die. For a long time this bothered Blue. The warning was specific, certainly, but not in the way of the fairy tale. It didn't say how her true love would die. It didn't say how long after the kiss he would survive. Did it have to be a kiss on the lips? Would a peck on the back of his palm prove as deadly? Until she was 11, Blue was convinced she would silently contract an infectious disease. One press of her lips to a hypothetical soulmate and he too would die in a consumptive battle untreatable by modern medicine. When she was 13, Blue decided that jealousy would kill him instead, an old boyfriend emerging at the moment of that first kiss bearing a handgun and a heart full of hurt. When she turned 15, Blue concluded that her mother's tarot cards were just a pack of playing cards, and that the dreams of her mother and the other clairvoyant women were fueled by mixed drinks rather than otherworldly insight, so the prediction didn't matter. She knew better, though. The predictions that came out of 300 Fox Way were unspecific but undeniably true. Her mother had dreamt Blue's broken wrist on the first day of school. Her Aunt Jimmy predicted Maura's tax returns within $10. Her older cousin Orla always began to hum her favourite song a few minutes before it came on the radio. No one in the house ever really doubted that Blue was destined to kill her true love with a kiss. It was a threat, however, that had been around for so long that it had lost its force. Picturing 6-year-old Blue in love was such a far-off thing as to be imaginary. And by 16, Blue had decided she would never fall in love, so it didn't matter. But that belief changed when her mother's half-sister Neve came to the little town of Henrietta. Neve had got famous for doing loudly what Blue's mother did quietly. Maura's readings were done in her front room, mostly for residents of Henrietta and the valley around it. Neve, on the other hand, did her readings on television at 5 o'clock in the morning. She had a website featuring old soft-focus photographs of her staring unerringly at the viewer. 4 books on the supernatural bore her name on the cover. Blue had never met Neve, so she knew more about her half-aunt from a cursory web search than from personal experience. Blue wasn't sure why Neve was coming to visit, but she knew her imminent arrival spurred a legion of whispered conversations between Maura and her 2 best friends, Persephone and Calla. That sort of conversations that trailed off into sipping coffee and tapping pens on the table when Blue entered the room. But Blue wasn't particularly concerned about Neve's arrival. What was one more woman in a house filled to the brim with them? Neve finally arrived on a spring evening when the already long shadows of the mountains to the west seemed even longer than usual. When Blue opened the door for her, she thought for a moment that Neve was an unfamiliar old woman. But then her eyes grew used to the stretched crimson light coming through the trees, and she saw that Neve was barely older than her mother, which was not very old at all. Outside in the distance, hounds were crying. Blue was familiar enough with their voices. Each fall the Aglian V Hunt Club rode out with horses and foxhounds nearly every weekend. Blue knew what their frantic cows meant at that very moment. They were on the chase. "You're Maura's daughter," Neve said, and before Blue could answer, she added, "This is the year you'll fall in love." So yes, I love Maggie Stiefvater's books so much. I really hope anyone chooses to read this book based on this review or anything that she's ever written. I promise you won't regret it. She's just simply brilliant. So yes, this is our book for today, Maggie Stiefvater's The Raven Boys. Please do let us know if you'd like to read it, or if you would like a review of any of her other books, because as I say, I'm very happy to do that. So thank you. Goodbye.